Hi, folks. I'm so pleased that you decided to stop in and watch this video. And I'm always so curious about why people pick the videos that they pick. So please comment down below about why you stopped to watch this video, and as well as any other topics that you might be interested in. So this is an introduction for a new series of videos that I'll be putting out called Apples and Oranges. I'm Dr. Doug, and I have been dreaming about this video series for probably a couple of years. And I'm super excited to finally be starting it. And I hope that you are as excited about it as I am. So apples and oranges, when we use that phrase, what do we mean? We're talking about usually things that we think are totally different. Like, oh, you're comparing this and this. That's like apples and oranges, so no comparison. What I say instead is that apples and oranges actually share a lot more in common than not, right? They're both fruit. They have seeds. They have protective coverings. They can be eaten raw, and they are good in desserts, and you can make juice. Like, there's a lot of things that are common between them. So I say, if you're going to be saying that two things are totally different and shouldn't even be compared, you should probably say something like, oh, that's like apples and trees, or apples and bunnies, or something like that. It makes more sense to me. So today, or with this video series, what I'm going to be talking about is the comparison between work life and romantic life, and specifically romantic relationships and specific workplaces. So your relationship with a specific workplace, rather than career in general or relationships in general, but instead talking about certain concepts and how they are actually applicable in both realms. So that could be anything from talking about common pitfalls, what makes for a good beginning of a relationship, a good beginning of a job. How about a bad or good or bad ending? How do you know when to end? How do you know when to stick it out and just push and try to make a situation work for you? All of these are topics that I see similarities in both realms with the romantic relationship and the work relationship. One important aspect that I will be talking about is the life cycle of a romantic relationship and the life cycle of your relationship with a specific workplace. And what do I sort of mean by that? I sort of mean like from conception, from the very beginning, until termination, until the end. And, for example, let's say we have at the beginning of a romantic relationship or the beginning of a workplace relationship. One phenomenon that is very common across all of humanity is the idea of infatuation. So the concept of infatuation gets a bad rap. People talk about it like it's an immature thing that is like a thing that fools you. And infatuation is actually necessary for the continuation of the human race. I know that sounds like hyperbole. Totally sounds like an exaggeration. Absolutely true. Like, there is an evolutionary purpose for infatuation. That when you find a person or a situation that you like, there's something about it that brings up good feelings for you, your brain realizes that this is happening, and your brain will then sort of grab that ball and run with it. And it will start to fill in all of these gaps in your knowledge so that that person or situation sort of meets all of your desired expectations. And it increases the possibility that you will further invest energy and time into that relationship and hopefully get into some kind of long-term commitment that is stable, secure, and that allows you to sort of grow and move forward and continue to develop. So when you first meet somebody or when you first interact with a company, there are just a few pieces of information that you get at the beginning. And this might be something that happens for weeks, months, years, where you are collecting information and you don't have all of the information about that person or that workplace, obviously. But your brain will take the data that you do have and extrapolate out a bunch of assumptions. So, for example, let's say you meet somebody and they tell you that they financially help out their parents and had invited their parents to come live with them and make sure that they spend at least one, quality event per week with their parents. So based on this one data point, your brain will then sort of make all these assumptions of, oh, this person values family just as much as I do. And if I were to become a member of this person's family, I would become a huge priority, just like their parents are to them already. So based on this one piece of data, your brain has sort of fed you the story, these images of the rest of your lives together. Like, it's a big leap, right? And sometimes the extrapolation is accurate. Sometimes it's not. Most of the time, it's somewhat accurate, right? Like some kind of moderate picture. But it's usually not as great or as idealistic or as perfect as your brain had made it out to be initially. And it happens with the workplace too, right? Like, you learn one thing. This company provides free lunches for their employees. And maybe you make a bunch of assumptions based on that of like, oh, they must really care about their staff. They really want there to be low turnover. They're really wanting to make sure that we're nourished and kept, optimally functioning. And then your brain sort of plays out like what the rest of your life is going to be like working at this company. And lots of times, again, that sort of perfect or idealistic picture is not totally accurate. Sometimes it's totally wrong. Sometimes it's somewhat correct. So it is not a flaw. It's not an imperfection in you that causes that to happen. This is human nature. This is the way that our brain works. This is what Mother Nature wants to happen. And it is important that if you like something, if something seems desirable, your brain, nature, evolution, whatever you might want to call it, wants you to achieve stability, homeostasis, some type of safety. And the best way that your brain knows how to do that is to sort of encourage you to pursue things that seem positive, whether that's a relationship or a job. So that infatuation, even though we often think of that as only applying in the romantic world, that's sort of an example of a concept that is applied in both realms similarly, but on the face of it, it just looks a little bit different. Like the details, when you flesh it out, it's a little bit different, but the concepts are still the same. In addition to concepts being compared in both realms, this video series will also be looking at how each of those realms impact each other. And, I think that as I'm saying that right now, you're probably listening to me thinking like, well, of course my work life affects my personal life and vice versa. And you say, of course, but in the moment, it's actually very, very difficult to remember that, because in the moment, you're being triggered by something, your emotions are running high. It feels like the truth. Like it feels like this is legitimately happening and I'm legitimately reacting to the situation. And only later, when you step back, do you realize, oh, there was a connection between what's going on at work and what's going on at home. That, again, we're trying to achieve balance. So if I'm sort of feeling disempowered at work, then I might be doing things to try to empower myself more at home, or maybe feeling very triggered if I feel like I'm being disempowered at home. So there's different ways that those will sort of play into each other. And that will be another topic that we'll be talking about in this series. Why does it matter? Why am I even bringing this up? Why does apples and oranges matter to me? Is it just some intellectual exercise that I like to go through? I do like to put myself through intellectual exercises, so that is no joke. However, for this, what I'm honestly hoping is that you gain some benefit from this for yourself. Oftentimes, what I find with clients is that if I approach a topic just head on, if you're experiencing depression, we're just going to talk about depression. In the moment, it seems to connect and hit home and make sense to the person. It's very, very difficult for them to hold on to that learning or to understand how that generalizes out to other parts of their life, rather than just being like this little silo of information. And instead, what I find that is, if I approach that topic from the side, that it actually appeals to the way that the brain works. Like the brain likes, in a way, it likes abstractness. And because it will take abstract concepts and will then figure out how to concretize that for the different parts of your life. And so that is sort of what people are appealing to when they are using stories to try to appeal to you when they're using metaphor. And that is appealing to that part of the brain that wants that abstractness, so that the brain can then figure out how it applies to different categories. So similarly, in this situation, if you are experiencing something in your personal relationship, if you learn about something about how you're operating or how things are happening in your workplace, oftentimes that lesson will apply to your personal life, and vice versa also. And so I'm hoping that, it may be that if I was talking about something about romantic relationships, that I might not actually hit home with you, that you might think, well, that doesn't actually apply to me because that's not happening. But if I talk about the same concept in the workplace, all of a sudden, light bulb goes off for you of oh, I do have that tendency. Now let me shift my focus back to my romantic relationship. Is it happening? And I just sort of didn't recognize it. And it's kind of cool when that happens, for you to sort of realize, oh, I had this blind spot. And now, because I was able to perceive of it in this other realm, now it makes total sense to me in the other area. So for me, I'm really hoping that you will get light bulbs like crazy, and, light up a stadium with all these light bulbs when you start to realize how lessons from one area help you in the other. And I'm super excited about this topic. I love it. These sort of ideas regarding apples and oranges come to me constantly in almost every single session that I have with clients. So there will be many, many videos coming. I really hope that you will also love these videos and use the comment area below to let me know what you might be thinking, how you're feeling about this, if there's other topics that you would like to be hearing more about, if there's anything within this realm, this apples and oranges topic, that you've been thinking about too and would love to hear me explore more, please let me know. I would just absolutely love to hear about that. So here is your intro. That's it for today. And Please remember to like and subscribe, comment down below, and of course, whether we are interacting here on YouTube, over in Instagram world, here in my office, I just really can't wait to create something with you that brings clarity, connection, and hope. So until then.